All right, welcome everyone. So this is our very first lunch and discuss is what we're calling these now. So these are going to be every other month, opposite our webinars. So these are what we want to be more interactive, have a little fun, hear from you guys. So I'm just going to talk for a little bit and then hopefully we can have people give their input or ask questions. So you should all have access to your microphones and cameras. You can keep your microphones muted just at this first part, but would love to have you unmute and ask questions or share. Cameras can be on or off. We would love to see your smiling faces. If you have people asking in your organization, this is being recorded. It will be up on YouTube. Probably will be a little bit delayed because Abby Chapman is in Jamaica. Love that for her. Jealous, but she'll have to do the upload of this video, I believe. So it might take just about a week to get this video up, but all the other ones take about 24 hours. So we can jump right in. And today we are going to talk about prioritizing yearly goals and projects. So just quickly, and if you could do a thumbs up or a yes in the chat, can everybody see my screen? Awesome, thumbs up, great. Okay, so goals act as a roadmap for your organization. Goal setting for nonprofits are both long-term and short-term goals, and we're going to focus today more on short-term goal planning. But what this does is really evaluate your organization. So you look at your mission and your vision, and that's really your roadmap. And your goal is to ensure that your program is excelling, and then you want to be able to raise funds. You know, people always say nonprofits, you know, why is raising funds a priority? Well, you need money to do your mission and vision and your goals. So that's always part of what you're doing. So we're going to start off real quick by talking about SMART goals. And in the chat, if you can just let us know, do you use SMART goals? Have you heard of SMART goals? You know, just yes, no, how do you use them? Just go ahead and put that in the chat. But we're going to go over them really quick. So SMART goals is an acronym. So S stands for specific. You want to be specific about your organization, about those goals that you're setting. You know, you want general goals, but you want to build upon them. Measurable. So a measurable goal is securing a specific amount of donations over a certain period. For example, you could have a measurable goal of raising 100,000 over the next 3 months. That's a huge goal. This is just an example. Achievable. When it comes to goal setting for nonprofits, it's important to start small and then work your way up to reach new and progressively more milestones. So really think about those goals you're setting and, you know, can you achieve them in the time frame you're setting? Relevant. Your goals, the goals you set need to be relevant to your organization's overall mission and vision. It's essential to think about how the goal will impact the way you operate. So if you're setting a goal that is like, you know, for example, cleaning up the highway on the edge of town, you know, is that really a goal that goes to your organization? Probably not. Time bound. You should always have deadlines. This is essential for nonprofits. Otherwise, it's just a goal that's out there, never ending. And so you want to set deadlines that are specific to that goal. And that motivates you to achieve them. You know, we always set, hey, I want to do this by this time. So where do you start with goals? So how do you know which goals that you want to achieve? First, start with your mission and vision. Your mission and vision. This is really where all goal setting should start. This is also a good time when you're looking at your goals is to reevaluate your mission and vision. If it's been a while since you've updated those, take a minute to look at those and say, are these still relevant to our organization and who we want to be? So start there. That's who you are as an organization. And then for those of you that now have a transformation strategy, that is the next place to start. So you have your mission, you have your vision, and then you have your transformation strategy. So your goals should feed into those three things. You should look at goals that are programmatic. So think about your transformation strategy, the 4 points. Those are like programmatic things. So, your first Friday concert series, what's a goal that you can set for that? Financial, you got to raise money in order to pull off those programmatic goals. So you want to make sure that you set a financial goal towards that programmatic. And then operational, we all are organizations and we need to operate. So we need to have goals around operation. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that third one because you're so focused on programmatic, you're so focused on fundraising that you forget, hey, we have to be an operating organization. So if one of your operations is, getting a new office space or getting new equipment, that can be a goal and it should be a smart, measurable goal. So don't forget to set those operational goals. And then you set those measurable goals. So every goal you do should be measurable. And we can dive a little deeper into what measurable means, but we'll look at that. And then transparency. Each goal you set, let the community know. This is what your organization is working on in 2024. It just means you're open and you're honest to the community, your stakeholders, those who are buying into your organization or giving to your organization, and those who maybe have some misgivings. It's just open for you to be, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. It also gives you that opportunity that if you need to say no, you can say, hey, we've set our goals for 2024 and this is what we're working on. We all, I'm sure, have experienced, hey, your program should do XYZ. We always have those people with the big ideas who walk in the door and say, you guys should be doing this. Well, when you're transparent about what you're working on, that gives you a way to say, hey, that's a great idea, but this is what we're focused on for 2024. We'd be glad to maybe guide you to a different organization that could work on this. Or, hey, if you want to join our board or committee, maybe that's something we can do in the future. So just be open about the goals that you've set for 2024. So that was a really quick overview because, like I said, what these lunch and discusses is hearing from each other. We want to learn from each other. So this is an open-ended question. We would love for you to unmute and answer it. Or you can raise your hand. I think that could help. Or you can put it in the chat. But we're going to start off with, how does your organization go about setting goals? And while you're all kind of thinking, I can talk to you a little bit about when I was a director, the process we always did. So we would usually start this goal setting for the next year in the fall. We would start at a board level. What are our big 1-year overall goals for the next year? So looking at 2024, we would take those goals to our committees. And then our committees would kind of from a micro or from a macro to a micro. So if our goals were, we wanted to have 4 retail events throughout the year that brought in 10,000 people, we would then take that to the committee. So for instance, our economic vitality committee would do like our shop hops, and they would break that down. Okay, we're going to do these 4 with X amount of people. So we started with the board, then the committees worked on it, and then what we did is we brought it back to the board to evaluate and tweak if they needed to. And then from there, we'd start building out a budget. So we'd have a rough budget within our committees, and then the board would look at, okay, what are some hard numbers? And then we would start in January, February, approving those goals for the year, work plans, and then just get running in January and February. Those goals, we always looked at our mission, we always looked at our vision, and if we had a transformation strategy, that was something we would do. So I will, if somebody wants to share, go for it. Yeah, Sherry, if you want to.
I just know that we have set our schedule of events already for this coming year, and then it was during a board meeting, and then we divided up who's going to take which event we're going to do. I don't think we've talked about how much money we're going to try to raise or anything like that, but we have divided up into committees.
Right.
And we will be asking for more volunteers for those committees, but we wanted to get it all planned so we could start getting the word out, you know.
Yeah. And I think one thing I would encourage you guys to do is go one step further and then start looking at, okay, how many people do we need? How, then that's a specific call out. Hey, we need 10 volunteers for this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So but that's a great start. Love to hear it. Janelle. Oh, Janelle had her hand up, and Carrie from Newcastle can go.
I was just going to say, I mean, this is I guess technically my third year now as in the director's role. And whenever I very first came on board, the way we kind of like to do it is really on a visionary element first. So really sitting down and brainstorming, like, what can your town be? What are some things that we know we're doing well right now? Basically kind of a SWOT analysis in a way. And then from there, now that we have our transformation strategy results and things of that sort, we're putting those into more detailed work plans and creating the budgets that go along with it. But I would say for our organization, we've been a lot more on a larger scale first, and then figuring out a way to kind of hone that in and how we're going to accomplish those.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, start with your overall plan, and then that's where your committees can come in, is really kind of getting to the specifics of it. Carrie in Newcastle?
Yeah, well, sort of like Janelle said, we have our transformation strategy now. So that was at our board level. And then we do our goal setting a little bit differently in that we are trying to make our committees really autonomous. And so we say, hey, our transformation strategy is this. How do you think this design committee can help bring people to live downtown? And so then they work their goals, and really the goals become the work plan for us. So each goal is a work plan, and that also helps to keep it not too big, like not too many, not too many goals, because by the end of the year you could have had 25, or you can lose focus quickly.
Yeah. Real quick, Bree said in the comments, their committees use the work plan spreadsheets to identify and detail out their top goals for the year. This starts in the fall. The organization committee reviews the plans before the board reviews and approves, ideally by the end of December. Oh. Anybody else want to share how does your organization go about setting goals? I think that, everybody who shared kind of had the same, it starts with the board, and then really working down into your committees. When do you start planning goals for the next year? I know some people have shared they start in the fall. When specifically, what's the kind of timeline that you work on?
I'm new to the board, so we started after you guys were in Angola.
Okay.
We worked off of last year's what worked and what didn't work, and we changed some things and added some things, and we worked from there. So it was like late summer, early fall when you guys were with us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think goal setting can take some time. It's not something that you can just sit down at one board meeting and say these are our goals. I think it does take some like planning, some looking at it, getting different eyes on it, looking through your committee lens, even meeting with your other organizations that you work with and letting them know, hey, these are our goals for the next year. So it does take some time. So we hope that you guys have all at this point have kind of started looking at your goals, or they're pretty much set. But we just want to say, starting off the year with goals is really what we encourage. So if you've not started the goal planning process, we would say take January and really start working on those goals. This question is kind of specific to our NOMS and IMS communities, but how have you built your transformation strategy into your goals? Carrie touched on it a little bit, but would like to hear from other organizations that just went through this, and how have you started that process? Mac.
So it's been a lot of rebuilding this past year. So for us, we just got our new transformational strategy, and we kind of looked at all of the things we were doing. And when I say all, I mean we were doing a lot, and what we could cut out, what was really benefiting us, what was actually going towards our mission and vision in our transformational strategy, and what really wasn't helping us hit those goals. And we started taking away some of those events and activities that really weren't benefiting us in any way. So I think looking at the overall picture, and like Sherry said, like we looked at our calendar and we set those dates to decide, okay, really, what is it that we should be doing, and what is it that maybe we can hand off to a different entity to take over, or who can we put a little more responsibility on to take over those events that we still want to see happening, but we just don't have the capacity to run them.
Great. Yeah, that's what transformation strategies is, kind of that gateway to say, you know what, this doesn't really fit into what we're doing anymore.
This is not us.
Goodbye.
It was a good time. Had fun. See you later.
Yeah. Can anybody else kind of speak to that transformation strategies?
I want to say, I mean, for Main Street Cordon, I think the same sort of thing. We really, well, going back to the question before as well, I mean, January is a slow period for a lot of people. Well, at least for us, I mean, we've gotten through the holidays, we've done the light up celebrations and all the holiday festivities. So now's our time that we're really regrouping on our organizational element of things and really sitting down to make sure that we have our feet firmly on the ground moving into 2024, because it can get really easy to get sidetracked there. But yeah, I mean, our transformation strategy, we were looking at the things that we did already as well and making sure that those key elements were applying to maybe some of the events that we're already doing, or as we're looking for new opportunities for our downtown businesses and things of that sort, recruitment, all that fun stuff. So really just trying to make sure that there's at least a piece of our transformation strategy in every single thing that we're doing, and if not, then like it was worded before, it's getting booted out. So.
All right. Anybody else want to share transformation strategies, or even those who maybe you guys don't have a transformation strategy yet? So some of our ODANs, our IMS. Do you guys have a mission that you work on, that you really look at when you're setting your goals?
Abby, I was just going to say, when Newcastle, before we were IMS and when we were a younger organization, we're about 10 years old now, we weren't probably not ready for a transformation strategy. I mean, as an organization, we maybe couldn't have done all the work towards that. But we used our city's comp plan and just went with, like, what does it say about downtown? And then that served twofold for us. We could do those items a lot of times with the city council backing, because you can say, hey, it's in your plan. And also it makes the city council look really good. And so then you can develop some trust that way. I don't know if that's it. And then your goals are already done. You don't even have to think. And I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, if your city has a comp plan, hopefully they all do. That's a great place to start. If they don't have a comp plan, I'm going to put a little plug in here. Okra does do CDBG planning grants every quarter that we can help a community pay for a plan. So contact your community liaison about what that process looks like. We also now have downtown revite plans. So that's just if you need some help funding a plan, Okra can certainly help with that. Nikki, I saw you have your hand up. Do you want to share?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Nikki with Columbia City Connect, and we recently had our visit and our transformation strategy. And so what we've done with that was we took the events that we already have, and we tried to say, how can we add a layer on? So we want to take what we're doing well and do it even better. Instead of, I feel like sometimes we try to add things and we say, how can we just, if this is what we're doing, how can we put another layer on that to just kind of make it stronger? So that's what we have done with that transformation strategy and tried to kind of incorporate in that way.
Great. Yeah. It looks like, real quick, Lexi had a couple of things. First of all, I want to share, she's talking about feeling, which is definitely a thing. It's hard to put your mind around what a feeling is. Feeling is an emotion. So, but that feel of like, hey, when people come, when people are visiting, what do we want people to notice, to be excited about coming to downtown? So I love that she mentioned feeling. She also had a question though. Are there any events that didn't find a new home for and they had to go away for now? So I specifically to those who have that transformation strategy, have any of you had to kind of let something go, and how did you do that? How did you communicate that, or are you getting ready to communicate that? What does that look like?
I mean, I could speak to that with us kind of going through. We tried to bring back our Fall Fest that we usually do. It had gone away after COVID, and we're like, okay, this is the year. But then we came to realize our Art Fest that we do only like a month before that pulls so much more. And we decided, kind of like you were saying, let's see how we can make this thing we're doing good better rather than adding something else. So I think we're going to ramp up what we're doing for Art Fest, and Fall Fest is just going to go away. And I think that's okay for us because we can really build on the Art Fest that's established, and that we have really good vendors that keep coming back year after year, and we can add more food trucks, we can add more kids activities, we can add more demonstrations. We had glass blowing last year, which was a huge success that we want to do again. So building on those things, and just sometimes realizing we don't have to have all the things, just let's build up that one thing that's really good. So it just kind of, it's going to go away, and we're just going to see how it's received and go with it.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to let things go and pick up, maybe if somebody really wants it, another organization might pick it
Right,
up,
right.
or they'll realize what you're doing it is about quality over quantity.
Exactly.
I have one to share,
Yeah.
if that's okay. I'm with
For sure.
Old Town Greenwood. We let go of our, unfortunately, Small Business Saturday kickoff, like shopping kickoff event, which we'd done for like the last, 5 years. And I was sad to let it go, but our downtown business owners have actually over the years really built up their Christmas open house weekend, and it was the weekend right before Small Business Saturday, and like we couldn't move that date, so we decided to just let it go because they're already bringing people into downtown. We don't need to compete with our business owners, which are already putting on something great. So
yeah, that's a great example of letting someone else kind of take on some responsibility, and saying, you know what, this is, they're doing a fantastic job. I know a lot of you might have like merchant associations that do some of that, so it's okay for you not to do everything, and just communicate with them and say, hey, how can we help promote this for you? I think that's a great example. All right, let's talk about how often or when do you do your goal check-ins? So, do you say, okay, quarterly we're going to check in? Is it during your monthly board meeting? Is it within the committees? How are you making sure that those goals are staying on track and you're checking in? If you don't check in, that's okay to say. We would just want to work with you on making sure you begin doing check-ins. Carolyn, if you want to unmute.
I think I did. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm with Discover Connersville, obviously, Connersville, downtown Connersville. And the reason I'm on here is because we've been pretty lax about checking in. We did, wonderful plan early on, and we've been kind of reviewing it, maybe kind of from time to time and adding on, but we really don't have any kind of a document. And so I'd like to know how often other people do goal check-ins and make things more successful. I mean, we've been able to be successful, but it's just not as organized as I would like it.
Yeah, can anybody kind of talk about their process or when they do check-ins? Janelle?
Sorry, I'm talking so much
No.
here. So we've started to implement a new process because we have created our work plans in Maestro. We are trying to make sure that we're becoming more of a working board and that everybody feels like they have a task, because I think that's where you lose a lot of board members a lot of times too, is they feel like they're just coming to meetings and they don't have a baby per se within your Main Street program. So every single board meeting now, we're implementing starting this month that everyone's going to bring their laptop or some format of that. We're all getting on Maestro. We're all looking at work plans. We're all going through that. Instead of me always coming to board meetings and just going through some long list of, hey, this is everything I did, hopefully it gets people to have more skin in the game, and then also making sure that we're staying in line. Hey, did we meet that deadline for the month and things of that sort? So that's what we're doing.
Great.
So Abby, I guess we work what we're trying to accomplish into our monthly agenda. And so it's just on the agenda and it's like, here's what we said our goals were for the year and here's who's in charge of these. And where are we at on these? And so it's just built into our monthly meetings.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, putting it right in front of everybody's face every month and you're on your agenda is a good way to keep it forefront in your mind. And yeah, I like Janelle, like, hey, let's not have our board meetings just be where each person gives an update. Let's actually be doing some work during our board meetings. Anyone else checking in on goals? What are you looking at? What are you doing? How are you keeping those goals in the front of your mind? I can't remember. There was a community that put their goals up every year on their like Main Street, their office walls, like wrote them on a big, here are our goals. It might have been in Wabash. But so every time you went into their, I think it was in their conference room, you could see, on their whiteboard, here were their goals for the year. And that's just anybody who walked into that room, you knew, okay, this is what they're working on. So that's an idea.
Yeah. And we alliterated ours. We have 3 Ps for the year.
Yeah.
So, it makes it easy.
I love it. Does anybody want to share some of their goals for the year? We love to hear what you guys are working on. And when you share, if you could put what community you're from, in case somebody wants to call you and say, hey, how are you doing this?
Since I mentioned my alliteration, so I'm with Greendale Main Street, and our 3 Ps for the year were people, place, and paths. And so we have some golf cart paths that we're trying to work on, and some easement things in our Main Street district that we're excited about working with our city on those and making it a little more accessible. With people, we need to do just a better job of working with our volunteers and recruiting volunteers and job descriptions for volunteers. So that's a big goal for us this year. And then the place, and then also with people, we're working on like relationships with our elected officials. We have a new mayor and city manager. And so that's kind of the 2 goals there. And we also, with Paths, have a street art project that we're working on. So we've got those 2. And then with our place, we don't really have a kind of traditional Main Street area that we're working in. And so we're trying to just create that, some events in the place, the space that we have that we're working on developing for our Main Street area. So.
Great. Love all of those. Anybody else want to share what you're kind of looking at for goals for 2024? Mac?
I also feel like I'm talking a lot, sorry. But we've done a lot of rebuilding this year. So, collaboration is really our big one we're focusing on this year. My position with Angola Main Street and working for the city of Angola has kind of kicked that off initially. But working with our local university, trying to better our downtown with them, working with Cameron Hospital that is in our downtown, that's a huge pull. How we can use those big pillars in our community and work together to make our downtown more thriving. And I mean, we're not the only ones wanting those goals. Everybody kind of wants the same thing. So how can we all work together to achieve those things we want? So collaboration is really high on our list, and placemaking. We have a really cool area that I think we are underutilizing. We have a green space that's just kind of there, but it would be really cool if we had a stage, if we had a place for bands to perform. So looking at working with other entities to get that funding to get things like that to happen, and activating alleys and those kinds of things. So placemaking and collaboration are way up there.
Great. let's see. Anybody who we haven't heard from today want to share? Sarah, you've been called to duty. Greenwood could use some assistance, which, again, if you guys have not communicated with your community liaisons, they are fabulous. We have fabulous community liaisons. So if you have not connected with them, do, because they're kind of our boots on the ground. You know, they all live within your areas, so it's not too far for them to schedule a meeting or a virtual meeting and get to you and chat. They love to do it. They're our street team is a good phrase for them. Very helpful, very knowledgeable. All right, we can continue discussions, but one thing I can't leave today and not do is what's been brought up a lot today: work planning. So work planning is something we require from all of our levels. So it's not just our nationally accredited or Indiana accredited, it's all of them. So from our ODAN to our nationally accredited, all organizations should be working on work planning. And so I just want to take a minute with you guys to go over what work planning can kind of look like for you guys. And then we can kind of talk about how your organizations do work planning. So first of all, if you have not been to the Okra website, if you go to Indiana Main Street on the Okra website and you go to becoming a Main Street community, this works for everybody, but we have some sample docs in a Google Drive that you can go right to. So you can click the link and it's going to bring up a Google Drive. And within that Google Drive is a sample work plan, which looks like this. So within that work plan, we have the blank ones, but then we also have some examples for you. So one thing that we would really suggest you do is look at your year. You know, start by looking at what does your 2024, and this says 2023, but now we're in 2024, work planning look like. So if your transformation strategy, for instance, is art and entertainment, or your mission is, you know, improving downtown, that's where you start. You know, you start with your mission, your transformation strategy. And then what you can do is break it up by committee and task force. So we would hope that you'd be using your 4 committees, but we do know now with transformation strategies, some organizations are doing task force and using the 4 points within that. So however your committee or task force, we want to see that you have kind of lined those all up. You want an activity or task, estimated expense, income, estimated volunteer hours, staff hours, if you've got staff, and then that measurable outcome. So all of these are measurable. You can see, so first one is your investment drive. So raise $20,000. Volunteer recruitment, recruit a minimum of 5 volunteers for the organization. Quarterly business seminars for economic vitality, host 4 business. You know, these are all measurable. You can measure these. You know, make sure you're really looking at that. And then what you do is like, you look at your timeline. So when are you going to kick off your investment drive? So you're going to start in February and it's going to go through July. So you kind of yellow out. So you're seeing as a whole, okay, when are we doing all of this work? So if you're doing this visual and you see, wait a minute, most of our work is from, you know, May to September, then you can say, okay, we need to shift some things around because we're very heavy in the summer and we need to maybe look at doing something some other time. So we're not overwhelming ourselves, our volunteers. spreading things throughout the year. And then you always, when you complete something, you always want to evaluate that. So this is your year in review. So you have a quick visual of what your year looks like. Then what you want to do is you want to start breaking these down into activity work plans. And those are, what does it take to accomplish this list? So for instance, you're going to do an outdoor painter's dinner. Your goal is to raise 20,000. You're going to do your chair. You're going to do your committee. You're going to do your date. You're going to do your budget. You're estimating you're going to bring in 20,000 in income, or maybe you have X in expenses if it's something else. And then you're going to really look at what does it take to achieve that. So, you're going to put together an event budget. And actually you could start before this to where it says you're going to hold your first meeting and really start breaking down. Then you're going to put together a budget. You're going to do the date. You're going to talk about when things go on, tickets go on sale. You're going to look at your sponsors. You're going to divide the sponsors. I mean, it really is everything it takes to accomplish that activity. You're going to set a date. You're going to set a completion date. You're going to assign who's responsible. So it could be the entire team. There could be certain people that are responsible for each area. You're going to do your budget, again, your volunteer and staff hours, and then your notes. And your notes are really helpful because it will say, hey, we got a quote from 3 places. We went with this one. So think about it. I'm a little morbid, and I call it your hit by a bus plan. I heard somebody else refer to it as your won the lottery plan. So maybe that's a little more uplifting. But think about it as if, this whole project team were to go away. So another team could come in and pick it up. And that's really what we're thinking about when we're doing work plans. So you're looking at a year review, but then you're also now breaking it down. So there's kind of 2 work plans. There's your year work plan, and then there's your activity work plans. So each of these then should have their own individual work plans. So really start thinking about, this is how we're going to start work planning for the year. So we have this example in that Google Drive. You can download it, work right off of it, go back to the examples to see, okay, how was this done? We really encourage you to look at that. If you are NOMs and IMS or aspiring IMS, you have Maestro. It's the same process as in Maestro. Really start looking at how you do work plans. So with that, would anybody be willing to share how they keep their work plans updated, how they make sure they're continuing to do them, how you split the responsibility? Really share with us what the process you've put together for work planning. And let's see, while people are thinking, Alex put the link in for the community liaison. So if you have not contacted your community liaison before, you can figure out who it is. There's a great map. And then Beth from Richmond, Richmond has been blessed with a $25 million Lilly grant. That's awesome. Plans are still in the work, and they have a new mayor coming in, but big things happening in Richmond. Congratulations. That's really exciting. And then Jennifer said she just learned about Goblin.tools. It's an AI that can help break projects down into steps. So yeah, AI, love it or hate it, it's here. So might as well look at how you can use it. So anyone willing to share about work planning? We would love to hear from you.
Abby, this is Kate Schwenk with Heart of Jasper. So I would say we've kind of got the annual work plan figured out. We certainly need to work on the breakdown of the activity work plans, but I task every Monday to update Maestro just because so much happens in a week, and next thing you know, it's like you're trying to remember what happened the whole month. So that's just kind of something I've been trying to be better at, is every Monday, looking at the calendar and where were volunteers spending time, what did I work on, and updating it just to keep it updated, because it's a lot to remember to go back and put it in Maestro. So
Yeah.
something I've been trying to do.
Great. Yeah, we are recommending that you do spend an hour a week on my show. I think that keeps you on top of things. And we always say your staff. So if you're an organization that has staff, your staff person is your, pardon the pun, I guess, but they're your maestro of your orchestra. So, they're the ones, your staff is checking in with your volunteers and you as board members on like, hey, what did you do last week? Did you put it in maestro, or can you let me know so I can put it in my show? You're kind of like leading them along, helping them stay involved and active. If you don't have staff, then it's somebody on your board who's kind of responsible for that. And usually it is your committee chairs or your executive committee are really kind of responsible to make sure the organization is moving along. But I'm glad, Kate, that you brought up, you do spend an hour every Monday or time every Monday updating Maestro. I think once you get in the habit, it really makes things easier. Let's see. I think, Janelle, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I don't know if this will help anyone else or not. So our organization committee lead is our vice president, and she's really, really good at work plans because I think she can think in that mindset because she was a teacher. So I don't know, what I would suggest, if there's anybody on your board or anybody that you know of that kind of has that mindset that they're really good at breaking down tasks, tapping on them a little bit more, because I'm more of a big picture kind of person, and sometimes I'm sure a lot of other people feel this way too. It makes me want to pull my hair out, having to think of, okay, hold on, I have to think of each step along the way, although it's very much needed for the hit by a bus plan, but just in case something were to happen. But at the beginning of the year, January, like I said, is our kind of time to sit down with it. I'm sitting down with my organization committee lead, and she's helping me think through, okay, we need volunteers. Well, how many volunteers? What are those areas that we're going to need volunteers? Different things of that sort. So I feel like that's a good place to start potentially as well. You have somebody like that around you.
Yeah. Yeah, find that person who's detail oriented and likes to do spreadsheets and that kind of stuff. If you don't have one, find one. There are always people in your community who like to do that kind of thing and would love to help. Anybody else want to talk about how they do work planning, how they keep up on work planning? I know it's an area most of our organizations struggle with. I know it does seem like it's busy work, but I know from experience going into an organization where when I was a new director and the previous director was great at work planning. I knew I could come in as a new director and pick it up. It was really easy for me to say, oh, they've done all their work planning. I know how things are. It was, and you always think about your future self. A year from now, you're going to do that event again. Instead of having to sit and everybody kind of think about, well, when did we do this and who did that and who did we contact and who did we buy this from? It's already down. Think of it as like helping your future self as well. Does anybody have any questions about work planning that maybe the collective can help answer? All right. Well, that was kind of the last thing I had today on setting goals. If you have, again, any questions, maybe something that comes up as you're kind of looking at things, um, feel free to, you can send an email to our general inbox, Indiana Main Street at okra.in.gov. And then this is the website of where you can go and find those docs. And I'm going to go back up for Heather to the SMART goals. So yeah, and remember, as you're goal setting, as you're looking at goals, maybe revamping your goals, fleshing your goals out, remember to think about your goals being SMART goals. I think we had a really good discussion today. Thank you all for your input. We really want to make these lunch and discuss hearing from you guys and how you do things. So we really do appreciate that. As a reminder, before we log off for the day, annual reporting is due January 15th. Remember. If you have any questions about reporting, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, our next webinar is in February, and that is going to be, that was in the Main Street Monday this morning, but Tasha Sams from Main Street America, they are going to talk about the ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystems 101. So we hope you can all join us. And again, feel free to reach out. We hope you can reach out to each other too. If you have any questions about how they do things, we really want to influence that this is a network. So thank you, everybody, and have a great Wednesday.
Thank you.